Dvarim Shabbos Chazoin. And the last words in the Haftarah of Shabbos Chazoin is the pasuk ציון במשפט תפדה. ציon will be redeemed with mishpat, judgment or justice, but the Rebbe always emphasizes it goes on Torah, as we'll see later on the Maimer. ושביה, and either its returnees or its captives will come back b'tzedakah through tzedakah. In Yadua, it's known Shiuridus on neshama beguf yitzarech aliyah, the descent of the neshama into the body is for the sake of an ascent. Behind this means the av shagam belav hochyaria neshamas all of a machshava, though even without the descent, without the special need to do something to create an ascent. So the neshamas were on a very high level. The Chazal say they rose up in Hashem's thought. This is like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, it's much more higher than any other creation, because all other creations come from Hashem's speech, that Basara Amoris Nivra Olam, even Malachim were created by Hashem's speech, and only neshamas comes from Hashem's thought. Still in all, despite their high source, prior to coming down to this world, through their descent down here below, nasis aliyosam lamailo yoyne yoiser, so they get an ascent to an even higher level than they were prior to their descent, higher even than the way they originated in Hashem's thought. The idea behind this is, we say, the neshama that you placed within me is pure. That's we say this every morning in the morning brachas. It's referring to the root of the neshama before it became enclosed in the body. That's why we say, neshama shenasatabi, the neshama that you placed in me, where did it come from? How did it start off? She bechinas tahira, it's the level of tahira. What is the level of tahira? The koi al bechinas tihiru ilah. It's referring to the supernal luminescence, the supernal brilliance. And we'll soon explain what that is referring to, what is that level of that supernal brilliance. And to note, in the majority of Mamodim, it's explained that the Tahiri is going on the root of the Neshama and Atzilus. That's why it says, Neshama Shnasata bi Tahirahi, and then it continues, Ata barasa, you created her, which goes in the world of Bria. Ata yitzarta, you formed her, going on the neshama the way it descends to the world of Yitzira. And then, Ata nafachta bi, you blew her into me. That's referring to the way the neshama is down here in the world of Asiya. So if you work your way backwards, nafachta, yitzarta, barasa, so then tahira logically would refer to Atzilus. But the Rebbe says, despite the fact that that's the explanation in many Mamorim, or the majority of Mamorim, but in this Maimer, it's explained, the intention in the word tahira. According to the way this Maimer explains it, it's referring to the neshama the way it's in the level of the supernal brilliance and brightness and luminescence that's prior to the first constriction, the most highest and awesome levels. Despite the fact that it began and it started from such a high level, it came afterwards, so you created her, in other words, you brought it down to the world of Bria. You formed her, meaning you brought it down to the world of Yitzira. And then you blew it into me. That's the descent of the neshama to become enclosed in the body. And this descent is for the sake of an ascent. Through this descent into this world, the neshama ascends to a level that's even higher than the supernal brilliance, the level of tahira that the neshama was in prior to its descent in this world. The siyum hamaimer, and the conclusion of that statement in the brachas in the morning, neshama shnasata bichulu, he calls man shaneshama bekirbi moidani lefenecha. What do we say? As long as the neshama is within me, I am praising you. V'hainu, this means she'inyan ha'idam yeshna b'chol echad v'echad mi'Yisrael. Moida is more than just praise. Chassidus explains Moida means acceptance and admittance. So this is to be found, the acceptance and admittance and taking Hashem like for granted that this is always there without a doubt, is every Yid has that. How come the idea of admitting and acceptance is not something that he comprehends that this is the way it is. Rather, it's something it's beyond reason and understanding. So because it's beyond reason and understanding, it's not limited to knowledge and understanding, something that has to do with knowledge and understanding. So people of different capabilities understand more, understand less, but this transcends that. It goes to the core of a Yid, the essential connection of a Yid with Hashem. Therefore, this level of Haidah is to be found by every single Yid. So he says now, Nois Beis, to be able to understand, what is this idea of admitting and that we admit to Hashem? Usually, when we use the term admitting, it means that there's a dispute, there's a disagreement, and then I accept your view. What does this mean over here, accepting Hashem and admitting to Hashem's view? It's impossible to be an idea of a dispute with an opposition to Hashem. You have to say, oh, you know what? I give in to your view of things. Who's arguing with Hashem that you need to admit and take on his perspective? The idea behind this is it's not a dispute concerning the matter itself of Hashem's existence. Rather, the difference of viewpoints is in the following manner. The feeling of the created beings is that down here below is a tangible existence, something that truly exists. That's reality. Reality is the way we see it down here. And above, in the spiritual realms, Hashem is something that's beyond our comprehension. We call it ayin, nothing, meaning not that he doesn't exist, chas v'sholom, but it's beyond something that we can relate to. Therefore, a person down here, that their perspective is that down here is something real and above is something intangible, amorphous. So therefore, they cannot comprehend Hashem's view. Hashem's view is the opposite. What is the true existence? What's the true reality? Above, Hashem is the true yesh, the true existence. And everything down here is ayin, insignificant, inconsequential, of no value in comparison to Hashem. Here is where there's the dispute. Here's where there's the two views. Hainu, this means that from Hashem's perspective, shekol mashu lamata yoser b'chinas ayin yoser, the more something is below down here, the more it is not, the more it is nothing. The view from below is just the opposite. The way we look at our worlds, we look at it, shekol mashu lamata yoser yeshu metzias yoser. The lower something is, the more it's a yesh, the more it's an existence, the more it's substantial. So therefore, to appreciate Hashem's viewpoint, it's beyond our comprehension. That's where admitting comes in. That's where haidah comes in. That even though we don't understand Hashem's viewpoint, we don't appreciate Hashem's look at things, we still admit to Hashem. Last line on the page, Amnam, still in all, though this is not within the comprehension of those down here below, still in all, we admit to you that we admit that the truth is the way it is in the supernal viewpoint, in Hashem's viewpoint, that Hashem's viewpoint is Shalamayla Yesh Shalamata Ayin, that the true existence, the true being, the true reality is above, and down here below everything is non-existent. Not just that this is true above, and also down here below, the truth is like the supernal, the supernal view that above is yesh and down here is ayin. So this is a mimer that we were quoting from the Alter Rebbe in L'Kutei Torah, the Tziyam B'Mishpat Tefda, the beginning, before we got into all these details. So we were quoting from a mimer of the Alter Rebbe in L'Kutei Torah. Now the Mamorim L'Kutei Torah, his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, wrote different notes on it. So in the second paragraph on page 233, he says, and the Tzemach Tzedek adds in his notes from the year Tafresh Chof Aleph 1861 on the mimer entitled Tziyam B'Mishpat Tefda L'Kutei Torah. For this reason, Moedim Gematria Meya. The word Moedim is the numerical equivalent of 100. You have 40 at the beginning, 40 at the end, right? 2 mems, that's 80. You have Vav Daled, that's 6 and 4, that's 90. You have Yud, that's 100. What's the idea of the number 100 of Moedim? The Hainu Meya Brachas, that it's 100 blessings. So the Rebbe is going to explain what's the association between the idea of Moedim with 100 brachas. We know it's brought down that the person should try to make 100 brachas every day. If you calculate all the davening and different things, you can come to 100 brachas daily. But the idea behind this is, like it's explained in L'Kutei Torah, even though we just now said that Haidah, accepting Hashem's view and admitting to it, is an important level, and it's beyond intellect, and therefore every Jew has that. But still, one cannot just remain by that level alone. That by itself, it's insufficient. Because something that one admits to, it's not revealed within the person. He's just saying, okay, I accept it's true, but I don't really relate to it. It's not something that's revealed within me. He's only admitting to it. But the intention is that from the Haidah, he should come afterwards to the level of bracha. What's the significance of bracha? Bracha, as we know, Chassidus always talks about, is about drawing down, like it says that he made the camels kneel, so it uses the word vayavrech. Vayavrech is the word bracha. Anytime when we talk about Hamshacha, that's the level of bracha. So it's not just enough to have Haidah, which is not revealed. The Haidah has to lead to bracha where it's revealed. That's why Moedim is the numerical equivalent of 100, the 100 in brachas, because the Moedim is the beginning to realize the goal, that to be able to get to the level of brachas. And what do we want to draw down in a revealed way? We want it actually to be revealed how above is a true and real existence, and down here everything is really nullified and non-existent. That's why Moedim is numerical equivalent of 100. The Hainu Meya brachas, the 100 brachas. Who the intention is. Through the level of admitting, he is to work his way up to reach the level of bracha. And this itself, Meya brachas, he should reach a level of 100 brachas. The Meya Moed al B'chinas Keser, 100 indicates the level of Keser, because Keser is the level prior to Atzilus. Atzilus, where you have the 10 spheres in a revealed way, and each of those 10 spheres is 10 included in each one of them 10, so 10 times 10 is 100. And since Keser encompasses all the spheres of Atzilus together, so Keser is the number 100. Umitzad HaKeser, from the perspective of Keser, Nimshach HaGilui Shalamayla Yesh Shalamata Ayin. It could be the bracha that we spoke about, the drawing down, that we down here should be able to feel in a revealed way that the true Yesh, the true existence is above, and we down here are bottom. This means Shayidah, Hi Avoida Shemal Mata Lamayla, Sheba Einza Begilui, that the level of Haidah, the beginning of the davening that we say, Moed Manachnu Loch, etc. That is only the avodah that comes from below to above. Why is that the beginning? Because it's not revealed. Ella Hurak Moed Shem Sukain, he only admits that the truth is this way. From this Haidah, he reaches the level of bracha. It's the drawing down revelation from above to below. That the level of Keser comes down. Shesham, over there in Keser, that's the supernal view. That's the view that above is the true existence, and down here everything is bottle, and everything is naught. So it says in the third paragraph on the page, how does one transition and go from the level of Eidah, which is the beginning of davening, which is the level of Moed Manachnu Loch, and that we said in Alakai Neshama, Moed Anilfanecha, that we say in Alakai Neshama, to the level of bracha that he's soon going to say. Bracha is primarily Shemoneh Esrei. We say over there 18, 19 brachas. So the transition, the middle ground is Kriyas Shema. So he says, Shaidah Yeschal Satfilah is at the beginning of davening, like we said before. Ubracha she b'Shemoneh Esrei he tachlis Satfilah, and bracha, which is Shemoneh Esrei, that's the apex, that's the climax, that's the goal, and where we're aiming for in davening. So in the meantime, or between them, there has to be the avodah, that's the avodah of Krishma, that you shall love Hashem. Love is the intermediary and the connector, and transitions from the Haidah to the bracha. And just like it is in davening that way, so too it's also in the spheres above. Haidah is associated with the sphere of Malchus and the three spheres prior to Malchus, Netzach, Chod, Yesod. Ubracha hi bebina. And Kabbalah is brought down that bracha is associated with bina. And now he's going to explain what we said before, bracha, 100 brachas has to do with Keser. So that's where he says in the parentheses, it's known that bina is the channel through which Keser comes down. How do you get from the level of bina to the level of Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and Malchus? What's in between? The midas of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. The intermediary in between the Netzach, Chod, Yesod and the sphere of Bina, and not just the sphere of Bina, but intellect in general. These are the spheres of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Sheba Avoidu, Avoida Dahavta. The Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes has to do with the Avoida that you should love Hashem, your God. Shari Chesed, who Klolos HaMidas, because Chesed is the general and all-inclusive of all the midas, she'ikram chagas, that primarily the midas are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. So therefore, since Chesed is the main part of the midas, so when you have the level of love, you have by extension Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, which is the intermediary to carry over from Malchus and Nehi to reach all the way to the level of Bina. Just like in the davening, we start off with Haidah, with Maidan Ilfanecha, we start off with Malchus, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and we conclude in the apex, and the ultimate is Shemoneh Esrei, the level of bracha, which has to do with Bina, has to do with the level of intellect, has to do with Keser. This happens through Via Hafta, this happens through the Midas, specifically through Chesed. Now, what's the procedure? How does one attain and reach the level of love of Hashem and the level of Tzfiras HaChesed? So So he says in Ois Gimel, last paragraph on the page, so the person should be able to arrive at the level that you should love Hashem your God. It's through contemplating what we say after it. In other words, we say, and then it goes on and says, it should be these matters and these words that I am commanding you today. That it will be the cause for the love to come about. The meaning of this phrase, according to Chassidus, is that the level of Hashem's very essence, the I who I am, beyond any name, this is Hayoim, meaning Hainu ba'olam hazadavka. The mitzvahs, which Anoichi mitzavcha, is Hayoim in this world. There's a lashon in the Chazal that says, Hayoim la'asoisam u'l'mocher l'kabel schorim. Today, it's the time of doing the mitzvahs. Tomorrow, that's the time for receiving the reward. So in other words, Hayoim is where the Anoichi mitzavcha. In this world, that's where Anoichi, Hashem's very essence, is to be found, in the mitzavcha, in the mitzvahs. Such a recognition brings us to a powerful love of Hashem, as he's going to explain. Sharei, why do we say that only Hayoim in this world is there the level of the Anoichi through the mitzvahs? Why is that not found, let's say, in Gan Eden? Or why is that not found later on when Mashiach comes? Sharei, ba'olam haba, hurak ha'ora belvad. In the world to come, it is only a ray of Hashem. It's not Hashem's essence. And in this world, it's Hashem's very essence. In our present world, it's to be found Hashem's essence, especially through the mitzvahs. So what you have is that, like the Chazal say, that tzaddikim are Gan Eden, are yoshvim v'nenim miziv hashchina. The tzaddikim are sitting and deriving pleasure from the ray of the Shekhinah. So that means in Gan Eden, and even in Olam Haba, like we'll soon explain what Olam Haba is, that Olam Haba is only a ray, but Hashem's essence, Anoichi, I who I am, is only to be found mitzavcha in the mitzvahs Hayoim that we do today in this world. Top of the page 234, Shalachain Amru. Therefore, the Chazal said, it is better 1 hour in tshuva and good deeds in this world from the entire life of world to come, because in this world we have Hashem's essence when we do the mitzvahs, whereas in the world to come we only have the ray. And the ray is so much more powerful, the essence is so much more powerful than the ray, just like a ray of sunlight is incomparable and inconsequential to the actual sun itself, for example. So now the Rebbe is going to discuss an interesting idea about what it means, Olam Haba. In Olam Haba, Chassidus brings two meanings of the words world to come. World to come can refer to the Gan Eden, where the neshamas dwell in prior to coming down to the body and after coming down to the body. But also, and this is the way Chassidus explains, that when it says in Pirkei Avos, Kol Yisrael Shlav Chelik Lo'olam Haba, every Jew has a portion of the world to come, it's referring also to when Mashiach comes. Let's see the second line from the top. The meaning over here, when the Chazal said it's greater, it's better, 1 hour in tshuva and good deeds in this world, from the entire life of the world to come. He loydak al Gan Eden belvad. It's not just referring to Gan Eden. It's also referring to the days of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead. That even then, when Mashiach comes, it will only be a revelation of the ray of Hashem. Though we'll soon explain that there's also Hashem's essence, and that has to do with the mitzvahs. And this the Tzemach Tzedek explains in his notes. Like we said before, the Tzemach Tzedek had his notes on the Alter Rebbe's Maimer, Mashakasav B'Gemar What it says in the Gemara al Posik, V'giu shon masher toimar ein li b'hem chayfetz, that will arrive years that you will say, I have no desire in them. Eili Moisa Mashiach. The Gemara says, what are the days that have no desire in them, like they have no enjoyment in them? These are the days of Mashiach. So the question is, how can you say the Bais Mashiach, there's no desire, there's no enjoyment, there's no pleasure? What's going on? The L'chura ain't move on, seemingly it's not understood. In the coming of Mashiach, there'll be a powerful revelation. Like it says, that the glory of Hashem will become revealed, and all flesh will see together. At the mouth of Hashem spoke. So how is this possible that you're going to say it's ein lam chayfetz, there's no enjoyment, there's no desire in them? The idea behind this is also the revelation that's going to be in the days of Mashiach, and even in the more developed time after the coming of Mashiach, when there will be the resurrection, even though it's a great revelation, to such a degree that the revelation in Gan Eden is incomparable to the revelation of Mashiach's times. Even that revelation of Mashiach's times, it's only a ray of Hashem. This means that the revelation by the resurrection of the dead is from the level of his of his great name. And because it's from his great name, now a name b'derech Chassidus is associated with a ha'ara. A great name is talking about the ha'ara, the Eir Sof, higher than the tzimtzum usually. So he's saying, because it's his great name, it's not just the level of a name, it's still higher than the revelation of Gan Eden. Also, this revelation is only a name, it's only a ray of Hashem, and therefore it doesn't have any comparison to Anoichi Mitzav Chayoim. I am commanding you today, meaning the very I of Hashem is revealed in the mitzvahs today, or is present in the mitzvahs. Through the fulfillment of mitzvahs in this world, Davkim, at present, before Mashiach's times, before Tchias HaMeisim, Nimshach B'chinas Anoichi, Misha Anoichi, it comes down the level of I who I am. But, that being said, the revelation of it is not present now. But the revelation of this level of Hashem's Anoichi in the mitzvahs, that's now at present in our fulfillment of mitzvahs, that's only going to become revealed when Mashiach comes. So now the Rebbe says something very interesting. So he explains, so which is it? Is nowadays greater, or is Mashiach's times greater? We said that Mashiach's times is only Hashem's great name, it's only a ray. So that's why nowadays is greater, because it's Hashem's very essence. But then he does not finish saying that Hashem's essence that comes down now will be revealed when Mashiach comes. So if it's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes, so why are you telling me that it's not that it's incomparable to the mitzvahs we're doing now? It is the mitzvahs that we're doing now is going to become revealed when Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe says there's two aspects in Mashiach's times. I'll say it first outside. There is the very state of the world, the very divine revelation that takes place just because it's Mashiach's times. And in addition to that, there is the revelation that will take place as a result of and a manifestation of what we brought down through our mitzvahs now. So the very state of the world, that by itself, when Mashiach comes, is insignificant to the Anoichi that's revealed now, or not revealed now, but is brought down now in Hayoim through the mitzvahs mitzavcha. But the level that we have brought down through the mitzvahs will become revealed when Mashiach comes. That's the same thing. That's not something that we're saying that it's greater, the mitzvahs now, than Mashiach's times. That's concerning the general existence of Mashiach's times. Let's see it inside. So he says, Vahainu, this means as follows, in the middle of the page. The line begins, the ata. I'm sorry. The line begins, B'chinas anoichi misha anoichi. Vahainu, this means, Shala'asid yebeis b'chinas. When Mashiach comes, there'll be two aspects, two components. B'chinas ha'alef de la'asid u'agilu d'shmaya godl. There's one level of Mashiach's times that will be only the revelation of his great name, but a name is still a ray, and therefore, since it's still a ray, it's incomparable to Anoichi, Hashem's very essence, that comes down through the mitzvahs. Ubchinas habeis the la'asid, the second level of Mashiach's times, which is Gala Hamshachas ha'atzmis Shamshichim Ademaisa Mitzvah B'Olam Hazeh. It will become revealed the drawing down of Hashem's essence that we draw down through the actions of mitzvahs in this world. The Ata B'Olam Hazu Behelam. Now, at present, the Anoichi Mitzavcha Hayoim, today, in this world, before Mashiach comes, it's concealed, the Anoichi, that's there through the mitzvahs Mitzavcha. Ula'asid Yeh Begilui. And in the future, that Anoichi Mitzavcha of Hayoim will become revealed. Behind this means Shebechinas Ha'alef, Hu Inyan Olam Haba Mitzad Atzmai. The level, the first level, the level of the Olam Haba on its own, Hain Mitzad Etzem Misavutza, just its very being, its very existence. That's one level. Ubchinas Habeis, in the second level, Mitzad Hamshacha Shaydei Mitzvahs. That's what it's accomplished and what takes place when Mashiach comes because of what we did through the mitzvahs. Shu Hamshachas Ha'atzmus, it's the drawing down of Hashem's essence. Sha'ach Shavu Behelam. Now what we are drawing down, the Anoichi Mitzavcha Hayoim, is concealed. Ula'asid Yeh Begilui, when Mashiach comes, it will become revealed. Now the Rebbe says this is not just two components that live side by side, but there are two stages. Beis Bechinas Elum, and these two levels, Beis Manim Yuchadim, these are in two distinct times. Vahainu, Shebetchila Yeh Bechinas Ha'alef. First will be the first stage where it will just be the very idea of the existence of the Mashiach's times, the existence of the world, which will be a revelation of his great name, but it will still be the level of the name, which is a ray. It's not a noichi, it's not the essence. And then v'acharkach, and after that first stage, Bechinas Habeis, it will be the second level. And that's what it means. It's better 1 hour in Shuvah Ma'asim Tovim in this world, from the entire life of the world to come. The intention when it says the world to come, that the mitzvahs that we're doing now is greater than is not just referring to being greater than Gan Eden, it's also referring to Tchias HaMesim. Also the world to come, also the resurrection is also included in the world to come. How do we know that when it says Olam Haba, it's talking about the world to come, that it's referring to the resurrection? The proof for this is what it says in the Mishnah. In Pirkei Avos it says, Kol Yisrael Yeshlem Chel Olam Haba. It's not a Mishnah Pirkei Avos, it's a Mishnah in Masechta Sanhedrin that we say it as an introduction, that every Yid has a portion to the world to come. But the part that we don't say every time when we say Pirkei Avos is what it says later on in that Mishnah in Masechta Sanhedrin, that the Mishnah continues and says, Ve'elu she'ein lam chelik l'olam haba, and the following are an exception to the rule that every Yid has a part in the world to come. And one of the people that's an exception to this rule is ha'omer ein tchias hamesim min ha'Torah. Someone that says that the Torah never said that there'll be a resurrection from the dead. Now, let's take it a step further. We're trying to prove a certain point. It's explained in the Gemara. Who kafir b'tchias hamesim? Since this person denied the idea of the resurrection of the dead, lefichach lo yeh lo chelik b'tchias hamesim, so he will actually not merit to resurrect. Shekol midah shakadosh baruch hu midah keneged midah. All the measures of Hashem is measure for measure. Move on. Shetchias HaMeisim nikra b'shem Olam Haba. From this is understood that Tchias HaMeisim is called Olam Haba. Again, let's remember the connection over here. It says, all Yidden have a portion to the world to come, except someone that denied Tchias HaMeisim. Why? Because since he denied Tchias HaMeisim, he's not going to rise up for Tchias HaMeisim. So obviously, the beginning of this Mishnah that says Olam Haba, and then it says that he doesn't have Olam Haba, it means that Olam Haba means Tchias HaMeisim. So that's the proof that the world to come is referring to Tchias HaMeisim. And we are saying that that's greater 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world than Olam Haba, meaning also Tchias HaMeisim. But the Rebbe says in the parentheses, we still divided the times of Tchias HaMeisim and Mashiach into 2 periods. Ella, he says in the parentheses, the Mishnah over there's intention when it says that there is certain people that will not rise, etc., is only on the first level of Tchias HaMeisim, or the Mishnah that says that Mishnah that says that it's greater the mitzvahs that we're doing now than all the life of Olam Haba. Sharakin Nikras B'Shem Olam Haba. It's referring to the Olam Haba. It's referring to Tchias HaMeisim, not the second stage of Olam Haba, because the second stage of Olam Haba, that is the result and revelation of all the mitzvahs that we do. That's why it also says it is greater than the entire life of the world to come. In the simple meaning, it is a complete lifetime in Olam Haba, but there's no lifetime, there's no beginning, no end, or there's no end to it at least. So what's mean the entire lifetime? So read koil, meaning every level of Olam Haba. By using the word koil means every and all levels of the life of the world to come. Gam Tchias HaMeisim. It's including even Tchias HaMeisim that our mitzvahs now are greater. Lefisha Gam Hagilu Shebetchias HaMeisim Urak Mibchina Shmoi Agadol. Also the revelation of Tchias HaMeisim is like we said before. That's only Bilvad, it's only the level of his great name. And the name is only a ray, it's not the essence like Anoichi is. Therefore it is greater. 1 hour in tshuva and good deeds in this world. When it says Anoichi Hayoim, it's Anoichi. Today in this world, that's Anoichi, Hashem's very essence. But now it's concealed. And the revelation will be in the future in the second level. The second stage, like we said before, that in the second stage of Tchias HaMeisim will be revealed not just the level of his great name, but the actual mitzvahs what we accomplish with the mitzvahs at present will become revealed, that revelation of Hashem's essence coming down. Now, all of this was to explain how the person reaches love of Hashem. He said, "V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha." How do you come to love Hashem, your God? Through what it says afterwards. Through thinking into the fact that Anoichi, that Hashem's very essence, is to be found today in this world. Now he's gonna tie this all up. So he says, Hine kashis boinen eich close hageluim doilum hab ganeden v'tchias hamesim rakar balvat. When a person thinks into the fact that the general revelations of the world to come, which we said before, it includes Gan Eden and the resurrection of the dead. This is only a ray. And only through fulfilling mitzvahs in this world, that's where we draw down Hashem's essence. So that will be like so overwhelming to him that he'll appreciate what his connection with Hashem and what he's able to do. Through that he will become to the level that you will love Hashem with all your heart and with all your soul. Later on we'll talk about B'chol Moedecha. So now getting back to what we were saying before, that the love is an intermediary between the beginning of davening, Haidah, and the climax of davening, the apex of davening, the bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. Through the love of Hashem, which is the intermediary between Haidah, the admitting and accepting of Hashem's view that this world is really ayin and the true yesh is above. We will reach the level of bracha where this is revealed and felt in our being. This will be the connector that will draw him from Haidah to the level of bracha. Like we said, that's the ultimate stage of davening to reach that level of bracha, the level of Shemoneh Esrei. That's the general order of the avodah. The Haidah is stage 1, Ava, love, is a stage 2, a bracha is stage 3. Through this becomes the ascent of the neshama in a much higher level, like it was before it descended below. We wanted to know earlier in the beginning of the Maimer, what's the idea that even though neshama came from Tahira, it came from Tahira Ilah, and supernal brilliance, and it came from the Oiden stuff before the Tzimtzum, and it's the level of Hashem's thought. And still and all, by coming down here, it rises up to a very high level, higher than it was before. So this is the process. By going through these stages, Haidah and Ava and Bracha, he reaches a level that's even higher than it was before. So the Rebbe says, this is all when things are running normally. We are talking about a state where there's Golus. ציון במשפט תפדה ושביה בצדקה is referring to certain things that did not go right. How do we deal with those things? This is all the way it's supposed to be, from Haidah to Ahava to Bracha. But when it's not going in that progression, concerning this it says, ציון במשפט תפדה ושביה בצדקה. ציon will be redeemed with mishpat, and its returnees or captives with tzedakah. So the Rebbe is going to explain what this is about. The idea behind this is in it ציon, who lashon simon. ציon is a mark, an indicator, a sign. V'koy al etzem haneshama. It's referring to the essence of the soul. Sha'avodas etzem haneshama hi beru'usa doliba shalamayl metam v'das. The service of the essence of the soul is what's called in the lashon of Kabbalah, the will of the heart, a connection, a heartfelt connection and bond with Hashem and will of Hashem that's beyond and transcends intellect and reason. Not the ava of but the ava with all your might, which means breaking out of all types of limitations. As the Rebbe always brings, ma'od means very much so, it's beyond any limitations. Now the Rebbe is going to explain why is the essence of the soul called ציון. The reason why the essence of the soul is called ציון, from the word a sign, a mark, it's impossible to say that when you talk about a mark, it's referring to the levels of revelations, the levels of Hashem's divine light, that you're going to say the neshama is a sign and pointing out to the divine light. Why? Where does a sign apply? On something that's beyond the sign. Like a simple, when you have a sign on the road and it says, 50 miles you're going to get to this and this place. So the sign indicates something, but the sign is insignificant to the city that's going to point you to that you're going to. Be it the smallest town, the sign is insignificant comparison to that. You can't say that the neshama will be a sign and bottle to an insignificant in regards to levels of godliness which are only lights and revelations. Why? So, like he said, since a sign is always indicating on something greater than it. Since we, like we said at the beginning of the Maimer, that the Neshamas arose in Hashem's thought. They're even higher than Malachim. Malachim comes from Hashem's speech. It's impossible to say that the Neshamas are a sign for some types of lights and revelations of godliness. So what are neshamas assigned for? In comparison to what level is the neshamas considered low in regard to that level and insignificant in comparison to that level? The only aspect of godliness that the neshamas can be considered a sign for, Elohim Simon al Atzmos, it's only the level of a sign for Hashem's essence. This means through the love with all your might. That's beyond reason and intellect. It's super rational love. It brings about the drawing down of Hashem's essence that's beyond the entire chain order of descent of all the worlds. But despite that, it's only a sign because comparable to the true infinite of above, the service of a neshama is still limited. Even though we're saying it's b'chol maidecha, it's breaking out of your limitations, it doesn't have the limitations of intellect. And the proof for it is that even though in my mind I might be breaking out of my boundaries, if I compare my avodah, which I'm going out of my boundaries, in comparison to someone else who might perceive and understand godliness in a greater way than me, what's by me in a way of a service to Hashem that's without boundaries and with all my might. Since that other person does comprehend this level, so that level that I'm serving Hashem with is by someone else may be considered a limited level. So therefore, if even amongst people, my unlimited level of service is considered limited in comparison to someone else, so therefore, for sure, comparison to Hashem's essence. Therefore, also the service of Neshama that's in a way that's without boundaries, is only a sign for Hashem's essence because it's insignificant to the infinite aspect of Hashem. But through this service, we draw down Hashem's essence. That's the level of Tzion, that's the Yechida of the Nefesh. In general, it's the two levels, that's the transcendent levels of the Nefesh, which is Chaya and Yechida. The Rebbe goes on to explain the difference between the lower levels, the Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, the permeating levels of the soul, to the transcendent levels of the soul of Chaya Yechida. It's possible for the person's nefesh, ruach, and neshama to become enclosed, even in the opposite, in klippim. But the level that's transcendent, it's impossible that it should become enclosed in the opposite. It means it's impossible that he will fall through in some klippedika thing that he needs to have self-sacrifice because they do not have the level of that corresponds to Yechida, the shadow of the shadow it's called. Only nefesh, ruach, neshama, it's possible of the neshama to be enclosed in the opposite. Hein bechinas nehi, whether it's a netzach yisoid of neshama, hein bechinas the chagas, whether it's a level of chesed bura tiferes of neshama, vegam bechinas the chabad, even the level of the chacham bin adas of neshama is possible to be enclosed in the opposite. By shekos of chachamim heim malahara, it says that the chachamim, that they could be a level of wise ones. In other words, they have the chabad, but for wickedness. Similar to what Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, through the external wisdoms, meaning through secular knowledge and studies, one brings impurity to the Chachma bin Adas of the soul. So therefore we see even Chabad of the soul can be invested in Klippa. That's what it's talking about, it's captives. The Shaveh Koyal B'chinas Naran. The Shaveh is referring to Nefesh Ruach Neshama Shiyu B'shivya Belumas. It's possible for them to be in captivity in the opposite side in Klippa. But the level of Tzia, it's the essence of the soul, it's beyond reason and understanding. It's impossible for that to go into captivity. That concerning the essence of the soul, there can only be the level of concealment. It's impossible for it to be clothed in the opposite side. All we have to do is a tefda. We only have to bring about the redemption. I'll just finish the rest of it outside. The Rebbe goes on to say that the tzia in part of the neshama, the chai yechida, which is not liable to be in captivity in Klippa, it's only something that can be concealed, that is revealed through mishpat. Mishpat is the level of Torah. And tzedakah, which is actions of mitzvahs, it's possible that it could, since it has to do with the world of action, it's more susceptible to be involved in klippas, whereas Torah, since it's in the garment of thought and speech, it transcends the levels having to do with klippa. So therefore, if a person pursues the level of Torah first, he ensures that his chai yechida is in the way it's supposed to be, and then it protects that even the tzedakah that he's going and he's sustaining a poor person, that he's schlepping out, just like he is sustaining the poor person and giving life to the poor person. So his own poor nefesh halakis is being extracted from klippas. And then the Rebbe speaks about the significance of the number 3 that has to do with a mishpat, and he concludes that let's just skip over to the last paragraph in the second line from the top. V'hainu, this means shagam sheklolos haftorah shel agola hu inyan shel golus. Though the general haftorah is the idea of exile, mekol makom yesh bazeh, there is still in the haftorah present in it. V'adrab, just the opposite. Hatoichen shebazeh, the content of the haftorah hu inyan shel geula is a matter of redemption. There's the intermingling of the 2 lines that he spoke about earlier in the part that we skipped. So too it's in the Shabbos Chazoin where we read that Haftorah, this upcoming Shabbos, that the content of Haftorah is the final pasuk, ציון במשפט תפדה ושביה בצדקה. ציon will be redeemed with mishpat and its returnees and captives with tzedakah. It's the intermingling of both 2 opposite things together. Now through a 3rd line that is beyond both of them. The kavza poil gamba agolus, and this line affects also in the exile. That Tziyon will be redeemed with mishpat and its captives with tzedakah. It will be a complete redemption speedily in our days. The idea of the 2 lines is he spoke about that mishpat, specifically mishpat means a judgment. When you're dealing with a judgment, you're dealing with 2 different people that are disputing something, and then you have the judge that comes in, and he's the one that balances it out between them. The same thing, there's the 2 opposites, and it comes the Torah and balances it out and brings down Amshachah that's way beyond everything to be able to cause the redemption of the entire soul from klippas.